Now, if you're like me, you're probably faced with situations where you're trying to start something new, but you're just procrastinating. It could be setting a new goal, for example, starting a new business or pivoting your business, or it could be as simple as just working on your school final year project. But you cannot seem to start, you just convince yourself that you have no time, but the fact is that you actually have time. You're just procrastinating and you end up playing video games or watching Netflix instead of working and starting on what you want to work on. And then later on, you might feel guilty and condemn yourself for being lazy. But what if I told you that laziness is not even a real problem why many of us procrastinate? So in this video, I want to share with you why do we procrastinate so that we can tackle the real problem, and how did I trick my brain to overcome procrastination with a very simple exercise that I'm going to give you guys. Now, before I start, I always appreciate the early thumbs up for this video for the YouTube algorithm so that this video can reach out to more people and help them to end procrastination so they too can start living life to the fullest. You may also want to subscribe to my channel for new videos every single week on how to improve your life and how to scale your business. Now, I have my fair share of procrastination, and there were a few moments in my life where I knew I had to do something new, but I just didn't do it. I knew there was once I needed to pivot my business in a certain direction before it went downhill. I knew that I had to start working on my YouTube channel way before I started working on my YouTube channel, and I just kept procrastinating again and again until the very last minute. And there was even a point of time where my business was bleeding money until I finally decided to pivot the business. Or maybe starting a new project like creating a coaching program for entrepreneurs to help them scale their business with YouTube ads. That's something we're very good at, and ever since we started our coaching program about 6 to 8 months ago, we actually help a lot of entrepreneurs scale their business. And this was something that I wanted to do 2 to 3 years earlier. And sometimes I just imagine myself, starting 2 to 3 years earlier. I could have helped a lot more business owners if only I started earlier. Or like what I mentioned, starting a YouTube channel. I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, and that was like 4 years ago, and I just kept procrastinating and finally started middle of last year. And although I don't have a lot of subscribers right now, it is growing consistently. But sometimes I think to myself, imagine if I started 4 years ago, I probably would have 10 times or even 100 times the result today because of exponential growth. I just didn't do it. And one last example is studying the crypto market. I actually bought Bitcoin and some Litecoin in 2017 because I knew it's going to be a big thing. I helped all the way through the whole bear market, and now we are in the bull market right now. And during this period, I really wanted to learn and study more about the crypto market because I knew it was going to be a big thing. And if I did, I probably would have been another 50 times or even 100 times richer. But instead, all the time I have, I will be spending time playing games and watching Netflix and just procrastinating, saying I will do it tomorrow. So eventually I started to question my behavior. Why am I doing this? Why am I sabotaging my own success when I knew there are some things that I know that if I start today, my future me 3 years or 4 years down the road would thank me. I always thought that it's because I'm lazy. So I'm condemning myself, I'm lazy. And one day while I was listening to a podcast, I remember someone said, I forgot who was it, but I heard someone say something, and it was a simple quote. And the quote was, inaction is usually the fear of action. And when I heard that quote, it's like a light bulb moment for me. Then I realized it's never laziness. It's not laziness. It's always been fear. Let's say you want to start a new business. Yes, it's exciting, all right, and very promising, but what if it fails? What if I lose money? What if my friends and family see me as a failure? These are the thoughts that go through your head when you want to start something new, and that's the real reason why someone would procrastinate. So, I wanted to start my YouTube channel, but, unconsciously, I've been asking myself, what if no one watches my video? What if no one cares? What if my video only has 20 views and people are going to judge me for it? And I allow that fear to stop me from taking action. So, what's interesting right now is that you got to understand that your root of the problem is not laziness. Procrastination is usually because of fear. And I allow all these fears to stop me from doing what I want to do. And the reason why you're procrastinating is because of fear. So we need to deal with our fear of failure or even fear of success. Yes, you have heard me right. Fear of success. You see, sometimes people are not just fearful of failure, right? What will happen if it doesn't go the way I want it to? There are a lot of people who are also fearful of success because success also comes with new responsibility. Success comes with changes. And people hate to change, right? That's why people like to stay in their comfort zone. I remember when I was young, I asked myself, what if I become rich? And when I become rich, because rich people are usually depicted as evil people on the media. And if I am rich, then I'm evil. And what will happen if people judge me or they love me They no longer love me for who I am, but they love me for my money. That may not be the truth, but that fear is real. So now that we understand that fear is the root of your procrastination, I'm going to share with you a simple exercise that I've eventually discovered from Tim Ferriss that helps me to overcome fear whenever I'm procrastinating. And this is a very, very simple exercise because goal setting alone isn't going to help you to achieve your goals. What you need, other than goal setting, is fear setting. Now, what this exercise does is that it helps you to face your fear as it is, not what you are playing in your head. Because when you play your fear in your head, we tend to always see it worse than it is. We want to see it as it is, not worse than it is or better than it is. So when we see it worse than it is, we scare ourselves into not doing it. So what is this fear setting? It is done with 5 simple steps, and I'm going to show you on my desktop. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pull out a document, and there'll be 5 simple questions that you need to answer. Now you can do this on a piece of paper if you like writing. I personally love writing, but for this example, I'm going to show you on a Google Doc. So the first statement, or the first so-called question, is you want to state the goal that you want to achieve. What is the goal that you're trying to achieve? Okay, so this can be a very, very simple one. Now, usually this is something that you want to start, something big that you want to start. For example, I want to start a YouTube channel and post 100 videos, for example. Okay, so that's what I want to do, what I want to embark on. Now it can be, now you want to do this one by one. You want to state like 3 to 5 different goals. You want to do it one by one. So if you're going to focus on start YouTube channel, and then focus on go to step number 2 and then step number 3. But for this example, I'm going to list down some examples so that it can be more relatable to some of you. So for example, start a new business, right? That's something very common for my audience, for those of you who are watching this right now. So I'm just going to use 2 examples to show you this exercise. So the first one is start a YouTube channel, post 100 videos, and start a new business. So that's the goal I want to achieve. So now that I have this goal, the second question I need to answer is, what's the worst that can happen if I start? Okay, so I want to start listing down all the worst thing that can happen if I were to start my YouTube channel. And this is where you really face your fear. You ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? And you can write down everything that you can think of. Now, writing down or typing down is the important part, because once again, your fear that is played out in your head usually looks worse than it is. So we want to see it as it is, right? We don't want to see it worse than it is in our head. So what you're going to do is you're going to write it down, every single one, right? So for example, if I am trying to start a YouTube channel, right? So what if my video suck, right? And a lot of times when you write, what if my video suck, you gotta ask yourself, you gotta define further, what do you mean by suck, right? Because suck can be very vague, can be overly vague. So what if it suck, and you want to define what do you mean by that? So for example, right, what if I define clearer, right? What if no one watches my video, right? That could happen, right? If I put in all this effort and I start posting and no one watches my video. Okay, because for example, if you want to post on YouTube, you got to be very consistent, right? It's not something that you can just post once in a while when you feel like it. For most content to work, you got to be consistent. So for YouTube, generally, people advise once a week, twice a week. So, you ever seen people who just post, they commit, they say they're going to post, and then they post once a week, twice a week, and then they disappear for a long time. Now that's me as well when I first started out, okay? So what if I start posting and then I can't catch up? Okay, that could happen, right? You get busy, you started posting. What if I start posting? Sorry about that. Okay, so and then you cannot catch up, right? You start posting, you start getting busy, you have no ideas, and you couldn't catch up for the next week video, so on and so forth, right? So these are some of the things, right? And now you're gonna list down as many as you want, right? For this example, I'm just gonna keep it at 3, but you can list down, number 4 reason why, number 5, number 6, number 7, and list down anything you can think of, the worst thing that can happen. Now I'm gonna use 2 examples, which is the second example is starting a business. I'm gonna use that as an example as well. So what's the worst that can happen if I start a new business? Okay, what if the business fail, right? And of course, you want to define what you mean by fail, right? So you can define further what you mean by failing. So what's the worst that can happen is that I could lose money, right? I could lose money. Yeah. And then the other things you want to define clearly. You want to define clearly how much are you going to lose, right? What's the worst thing you can lose? How much are you going to maximum, risk it? So let's say if you have $30,000 to risk, cool. All right, so I'm going to lose $30,000. What else? What if I lose face, right? I lose face, I tell my friends and family that I'm gonna start this business and then I fail. What's gonna happen, right? So what if I lose face? What if I fail? People are gonna see me as a loser, right? People see me as a loser or a failure, right? So now again, you can go ahead and list down as many examples you want. What's the worst thing can happen? I'm sure you can list down a lot of scenario. These are just 3 examples because I want to keep this video short, okay? So list down as much as you can, and really just face it as it is. These are things that could really happen. If I start my YouTube channel, my videos suck, no one's gonna watch my video, and when I start posting, maybe I can't catch up, I have no time whatsoever. If I start a business, what if the business fail? I could lose money, I could lose face, so on and so forth. Now you look at your worst case scenario as it is. Now, step 3, you gotta ask yourself, what can you do to prevent it? So if you realize what we are doing right now in this fear setting is that we are looking at what's the worst case scenario as it is. What if your business fail? Okay? What if you lose money? You gotta ask yourself, right? If I'm gonna raise $30,000 to start this new business and I lose it, am I okay with it? Am I okay with losing $30,000? Okay? And then you start to realize that, if you're okay with losing $30,000 and you don't mind, you start to realize that the fear is not even rational anymore, because initially you're just, I'm afraid to lose money, but now you plan out worst case scenario. If I lose $30,000, so what? Okay? And what if I lose face, right? What if people see me as a loser or failure? Again, you gotta ask yourself, so what? So, which successful entrepreneur has never failed in their life? Which successful entrepreneur has never lost money before? So you gotta ask yourself, like, what's more important here, right? Is your future more important? Your success, following your calling more important, or how people see you? So when you look at what's the worst case scenario, you start to realize that a lot of the fear is not rational. Okay? But we want to make it more logical. So the next question we're going to ask ourselves is, what can we do to prevent it? Because a lot of times, yes, the truth is that this thing could happen, but we could also plan in advance. So that if we have a backup plan, we have not say a backup plan, but if we have a plan to ensure that these things doesn't happen, okay, then there's no logical reason for that fear, because you have a plan. So let's say, okay, so what's the worst thing that can happen? What if my video sucks? So how can you prevent your video from sucking, right? Now, of course, there are some things that you can't prevent, which will be the next question, but let's just do this first, okay? So what if the video sucks, right? Could you outsource it, right? What if I don't edit the video myself? What if I outsource the video? Okay, could I do that? Yeah, I pay a bit more money, but someone that's better in editing, right? I don't edit all my videos myself. I have people who edit it for me, and I trust them because they're more experienced in editing. Does it make sense? What else? What if I could say the wrong things? My pronunciation is not good and it sucks or whatsoever. What can I do to prevent it? Can I practice? Right? Or can I perhaps script out word for word? Can I buy and then what if I script out word for word, I can't remember and everything? Can I buy a teleprompter? Now, if you look at me right now in the camera, okay, I actually have a camera, a setup, and I actually have a teleprompter just right below this camera. You can't see it because it's supposed to be a teleprompter. It's an iPad, and it has a mirror. Sorry, not a mirror, it's more like a glass reflection. And I'm actually reading word by word if I want to. Now, today I don't read word by word because I'm a bit used to this right now, and I just put point form so that I don't forget what I'm going to say. But think about it, right? At the beginning, I had the same issue. People think that, Gabriel, you can talk, you are a good communicator, but I'm not. I always stumble on my words. I always have issue trying to communicate what's in my head. I'm an extrovert, but yet I'm also a little bit of introvert here and there, once in a while. And, a lot of times I just struggle to get out the words that I'm thinking of. I don't know if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So at the beginning, what did I do, right? I practice, right? I write out my script word for word so that I'm not afraid of stumbling on myself, not knowing what to say when it's time to record my video. I write every single thing out word for word and I put in my teleprompter and I just read it. Watch my older video, you will see that my eyes is following that screen as I'm reading because I'm reading a script, right? So here's what I'm trying to say. I had a plan. Because I knew that I may screw up, I knew that my video may suck, I knew that I may stumble on my words or whatsoever, so I have a plan. right? I created script and I bought a teleprompter. Okay, so what else could you do, right? What else could you do? What if you start posting and then you can't catch up? Or what if no one watches your video? So you gotta ask yourself, what if no one watches your video, right? And again, you see, the fear is not rational because, okay, so I'm gonna put number 5. What if no one watches your video? It's not possible that no one is watching your video. Okay, when you post on YouTube, YouTube is gonna recommend your videos to people. Even if you say no one is watching, at least there's 10 people watching. 10 people is not nobody. Okay, it's not 0 views. You will at least get 5 to 10 views. So it is not no one is watching. There are people watching. But what else could you do? Could you? I could send these videos to my friends, right? To my friends or my email list or people that are in my circle, right? And I send it to them and I ask for feedback on how to improve, right? Like, is my video content good? You know, are you learning something from this? And I start to ask for feedback and I can get better. My first few video on YouTube, right? The truth is this, I send it out to my email list and I ask for feedback, right? I ask them comment, I ask them to give me feedback on how I can be better, and I got real feedback, like people who text me and say, Gabriel, you gotta do this. Gabriel, this part is pretty good, but this part is not so good. And I listen to feedback, right? Because you can always improve. So I have a plan. The main thing is that you gotta have a plan. What's gonna happen if, to prevent the worst case scenario, okay? And then what if I start posting and I cannot catch up, right? That could happen. So could I plan out? Okay, could I plan out the amount of time I need? Okay, so what could I do? I could, when I shoot my first video, I time my first video, right? From scripting to shooting to editing, how long do I need? And I realized that from scripting to shooting, because I don't do much of the editing myself, I realized that in total, I needed 6 hours to create one video. Now, of course, I take lesser time right now, but you get what I'm trying to say, that at the beginning, I needed 6 hours, okay? And that's the reason why I asked you for early thumbs up, because there's so much more effort required to create a YouTube video like this, okay? So please give me a thumbs up if you are learning something so far. Okay, so I realized I needed 6 hours to create video, and I broke it down. I realized, okay, what if could I spend 1 hour a day, right, 6 days a week to create my videos, right? It's like going to the gym, right? It's like going to the gym. You don't see the results when you go to the gym at one shot 6 hours. You're not gonna get result that way. You gotta go to the gym 3 times, 4 times a week, each time maybe in an hour, maybe 90 minutes, and then eventually you're gonna start seeing results. So I started to see that my YouTube creation, my YouTube videos, my YouTube channel, like a gym. That, you know, I've been going to the gym and I don't see a lot of results. I don't see big biceps and like 6 packs in like 3 months. Like, unless you're really strict with diet, but still you generally don't see result within a week or within 2 weeks. You know, when I went to the gym, it took me about 6 months to finally start to see results. Same thing for YouTube, right? Like, if I were to just spend 1 hour a day, work on my script, work on my video, 1 hour a day, work on my script, work on my video, I'm not gonna see much result. And therefore, I'm okay with there's only 10 people who are watching me. Because like gym, I'm gonna probably see results after 6 months. Okay, after 6 months. So you see, now I'm trying to rationalize my fear, that actually the fear is not even, even rational, because nobody's gonna see results within 1 week anyway. And now I have a plan. I just work on it 1 hour a day, like I'm going to the gym and I'm just practicing on my videos. Does it make sense? So now I have this a bunch of plans, right? And this plan helped me to lower down my fear, okay, of what's the worst that can happen. So same thing here. I'm gonna do another example. What if the business failed, right? So what are the things I could do to prevent business from failing? Now, you can't really prevent from business from failing, but what you could at least do is to have a business plan, right? At least have a plan what you're gonna do, right? A 1 year plan, a 2 year plan, 1 year, 2 year, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years plan, right? I mean, having a plan is better than having no plan, right? So have a business plan, plan out a plan, what's gonna happen, what you're gonna do, right? And then ask yourself, how can you do, what's the worst that can happen? How can you prevent yourself from losing $30,000? Could you do proof of concept first, right? That means before investing so much money in your business, could you do a proof of concept? Create a simple prototype of your product or your software or whatever, and try to pre-sell it. See whether people are willing to pay an advance fee for it. right? So pre-sell it and see whether are there people who are interested to pay a small amount of money to test out your product. It's called proof of concept. So could you have done a proof of concept first before you spend that $30,000 to invest in whatever you need to invest, right? So yeah, do a proof of concept. Okay, do a proof of concept, right, before investing. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Okay, so again, you can list down as many plans as you want, but the whole idea right now is that at least you have a plan to prevent what's going to happen. Okay, and what if you lose face? Now, obviously, you can't you can't not lose face if your business were to fail, but you gotta ask yourself, right? What are you focusing on, right? What am I? Right, people's opinion or my future? Okay, am I going to determine my future based on people's opinion? Okay, so and what if people call me a loser, right? I mean, it's just temporary, because if I think long term, right, I could also learn from my failures. Okay, so technically you didn't fail because you're just learning what doesn't work so that you could carry on to the next business, and you can just apply what doesn't work to the next business so that your chances of success is going to be higher, your chances of failure is going to be lower for your next business, right? If you look at it from a macro perspective. Okay, so long story short is to have a plan. What can you do to prevent it? And then step number 4 is that there are some things that will happen, okay, even if you have all the plans to prevent it. Okay, for example, you can't really prevent your business from failing. You cannot prevent people's opinion about you. Okay, so what you want to do is to ask yourself, even if the worst case scenario happen, what can you do to salvage it? What can you do to repair that scenario? Okay, so ask yourself this, right? This is more like a backup plan. So when you have a backup plan for the worst case scenario in case it happened, you have less fear, right? Because now you have already planned in the additional time and the effort needed to know that this is going to probably be harder than it looks, but even if it doesn't end up well, I have a second backup plan. So that lowers your fear. Does it make sense? So let me give you an example, right? What if no one watches my video? What if no one watches my video? So again, right, I could do social sharing, like what I just said earlier. I could do social sharing instead, right? If YouTube is not even recommending anyone, I could do social sharing and I can get feedback from people. Okay, or I could understand the idea is the law of law of 100, that the first 100 videos nobody's gonna watch my video, because the first 100 video is me focusing on myself. Now, when you see that, you take the stress away, right? Because at the beginning, I was procrastinating posting video on YouTube because I keep thinking that, people are gonna watch, people are gonna judge me or whatever, and my video is gonna suck. And then I refocus, right? So what if people are not watching? So what if there's nobody coming to see my video? That's fine, because my focus is not on the audience in my first 100 videos. The first 100 videos, I'm giving myself the permission to fail because I'm focusing on myself. I'm creating the first 100 video. It's gonna suck. It's definitely gonna suck, so that I can learn how to be better, right? It's about clocking in the hours instead of trying to get the number of followers. So I take away that stress. Can you see that? Okay, so have a backup plan, right? What are you gonna do if the worst case scenario happen? Okay, so for example, if you were to start a business and you really lose $30,000, right? If you really lose $30,000, what's the backup plan? What's the backup plan? What can you do about it, right? Can you learn from the mistake? Like what I said earlier, can you learn from the mistake of $30,000 and ask yourself, are you really okay with losing $30,000? If you're not okay losing $30,000, then find another way. Like I said, do a proof of concept first or whatsoever. But this is in the example of like it really happens. You really lost $30,000. You really you really have people calling you losers. So what, right? What can you do about it? Right? What can you do about it? So here's another example. I had a few failed businesses where I failed, and people were laughing at me. Right? People were laughing at me. They were judging me. I used to have a Kickstarter product that raised money, and I wasn't able to deliver the product because I was so bad with my numbers that I raised $30,000 on Kickstarter. However, I spent almost $20,000 to get the $30,000 because I had to spend money on marketing and all that. So when I received the $30,000, right, I'm already left with like $5,000 to $10,000, and I didn't have the money to actually pay for the supplier to produce the product and so on and so forth. So what happened was that it was a true genuine mistake. It was a true failure. And the truth is that if you're gonna start a business, you're gonna fail, right? You're gonna fail. And when you fail, there will be people that will jump on your failure and call you a scammer or whatsoever, right? They will enlarge your failure, okay, and make you feel worse than it already is. And so I realized that there was a point of time that I was just very guilty, right? Like I was trying to let people know that, it's not I'm scamming you guys. I didn't run away with $30,000. I just didn't know my numbers. I spent all my money in the marketing already. I have no money to pay my supplier whatsoever. And I realized that one of the reasons why I was suffering from that is because I wasn't really being honest with myself. I wasn't telling people of what's happening. I didn't post online. I didn't post my social media. I didn't tell the people who back me what's really happening. And so I decided to be honest, right? So worst case scenario, what will happen? The backup plan is that I'm just gonna be honest with my failure, and maybe even post my learnings online. And that was what happened, right? People were writing me, attacking me, and they have the right to attack me because I was silent about it, because I didn't want to face my failure. I didn't want to be a joke, so I just kept quiet about it until people started posting online and saying that I ran away with 30,000 whatsoever. I decided to come clean. I did an online post, and thankfully that online post managed to gather quite a bit of response, and there was a lot of likes and a lot of shares, and people finally understanding why that product didn't go through. So I was just being honest, and I was just being open about it. And guess what? There were actually a couple of people who came up to me after that and told me that they really respect my courage to come clean, my courage to post my mistakes online so that other people can learn from it, and just being honest about it. And because of that, these are people who have been following me over the last few years because of my mistakes 5 years ago. So I eventually turned it into something that's good for me, right? So I could have been honest and post my learning online, and that was a real scenario that happened. So what you want to do is ask yourself, what can you do to repair the worst case scenario? If the worst case scenario does happen, do you have a backup plan? And when you have a backup plan, you tend to fear lesser, right? Because, okay, I already predicted that this might happen, and if this happened, I'm gonna have a plan. Does it make sense? And then lastly, number 5, ask yourself, what do you miss out on if you do not start or achieve your goal? See, a lot of times we procrastinate because we are looking at what's gonna happen, what's the worst that could happen if we start. What if we fail? What if we don't do as well? What if we lose money? But we didn't stop to think, what if we didn't even start? Because we are now fearful of what's gonna happen if we start. But now we're gonna flip the fear. What could happen, or what are you gonna lose or miss out on if you don't start? See, a lot of times that the pain is gonna be very real at the end if you don't start what you want to start. For example, if you want to pivot your business, for example, I knew I needed to pivot my business about 3 years ago when my business model wasn't working well, but I was in denial until the very end where the business starting to lose money and I was bleeding money, and then I finally took the courage to pivot. I could have pivoted earlier. I could have asked myself this: what will I miss out on? What's the pain that might happen if I don't pivot my business? And I flipped the fear, right? So you gotta ask yourself, right? So for example, what will you miss out on if you don't start your YouTube channel? Okay, what will I miss out on? So what will I miss out on? So I finally started my YouTube channel because I realized that I cannot depend on ads forever, right? Because the way I grow my business is by ads. Ads is super cheap now. I highly recommend people to run YouTube ads and Facebook ads right now. It's still super cheap, but long run, in the next 4 to 5 years, ads are going to become super expensive, right? Ads are going to be super expensive. And if I don't build, if I don't build organic traffic or brand, what's going to happen? My business is going to die in the next 4 to 5 years. So I'm making it real now, okay? That if I don't start my YouTube channel right now, I'm attaching it to pain where my business is going to die in the next 4 to 5 years if I don't have an organic traffic or organic brand. Does it make sense? So now you're flipping the fear, because now it's not about fear of starting, but more of fear if you don't start. fear if you don't achieve the goal that you set out to achieve. Right? So, for example, so coming back to here, if your goal is to start a new business, right? And so what are you gonna miss out if you don't start a new business? What are you gonna miss out if you don't start? Right? Maybe you're stuck, okay, maybe you're stuck in your 9 to 5 job, so you might be stuck 9 to 5 for forever, right? So like if you don't start now, for example, if you don't have kids, you don't have marriage, you don't have much things to worry about, and you're not starting a business now, it's gonna get worse, right? Because once you have kids and once you have a family, you need to start thinking about, once you buy a house, you have debts that you have to think about. Now it's no longer about you. You can't just reset and just leave and just restart all over again. When you have kids, when you have family, it's much harder. I mean, it's not impossible. I've done it, but it's going to be harder, right? So you might be stuck in 9 to 5 forever and never be happy. Maybe, right? I'm not saying that 9 to 5 means that you're bad, you'll never be happy. I know of people who are 9 to 5 who are super happy. I'm just saying that if you're in a scenario where you're 9 to 5, you're not happy, and you're not starting a business, it's not going to change. It's going to get worse. Does it make sense? Or maybe you have an amazing idea, right? You have an amazing idea and you didn't start. You might end up with regrets, right? 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, you see somebody else who started a business with a similar idea. Instead of being the one who took action on the idea, you're gonna be the one that says, you know what, I thought of the idea. You know what, I thought of the idea. Nobody cares if you thought of the idea. Ideas are cheap. Don't be that guy, right? Don't be that guy that says, you know what, I thought of this, I thought of that. Words are cheap. Ideas are cheap. It's all about execution. So start putting it down. What's the worst? I mean, what will you miss out on? How painful will it get if you don't achieve or you don't even start on your goal? So now you feed the fear. So this is the 5-step, very simple 5-step to logic out your fear, okay? And this has helped me time and time again to end my procrastination. So whenever I'm procrastinating, I'm not doing anything, I go through these exact 5 steps and it helped me to rationalize my fear, and I would find a natural motivation to start working on what I need to work on. Okay, so summary. Number 1, state the goal you want to achieve. Number 2, write down what's the worst that could happen when you start on that goal. Okay. Number 3, what can you do to prevent it? Step number 4, have a backup plan. Even if it happens, even if worst case scenario happen, what's the backup plan? What can you do to repair it? What can you do to salvage it? And then number 5, ask yourself, what do you miss out on if you do not start or achieve that goal? And when you do this, you are flipping your fear. So I hope that you've learned something from this video, and if you've learned something, please comment in the comment section what's your biggest takeaway, as well as any questions you might have, and I'll be answering every single one of them. Remember to like this video for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy content like this. I'll be releasing them every single week. So that's all I have for you today. Bye for now.